Whether you like it or not, leadership is a spiritual transaction. Leadership involves a transfer of spirit from the leader to the follower. That medium is crucial for any leader to succeed in his or her mandate. Leadership is a spiritual transaction. That's what we'll be talking about today on Leadership in 30 Minutes. Welcome. My name is Olatunji Shobodu, and this is Leadership in 30 Minutes. Today, we'll be speaking on the subject leadership, a spiritual transaction. Leadership, a spiritual transaction. I bet you probably never thought about leadership from this perspective. What do we mean by leadership is a spiritual transaction? Am I involved in any spiritual transfer or any spiritual interaction when I am following a leader, or as a leader, I'm not conscious that this business of leadership involves that nature of transaction? Well, that's the way it is. Whether you like it or not, you are engaged in a spiritual transaction. That is what leadership is about. Leadership involves a transfer of spirits. Leadership involves a transfer of spirit. In order to succeed as a leader, there must be a transfer of spirit. In order to succeed, there must be a transfer of spirits. Let's come back briefly. Well, at least you would understand that leadership involves influence. It's about seeking influence. It's about influencing, inspiring your people to accomplish great things. That's how some people, define um, leadership. And you're right. You're right. Because what you're trying to do is actually to add value to the lives of your people. In order to add that value, you need to be able to influence them. All right. So there is a whole dynamic that this interaction between the leader and the follower goes through. And all of that, encapsulates the nature of the transaction, the nature of the transaction. Now, the way that you seek influence is you want your follower to pay attention to you. You want them to listen to what you are saying. You want them to do the things that you are asking them to do. You want to help them to build capacity, to build their character. Okay. In order for that to happen, they must receive you. They must believe you. All right. For them to truly put their heart into what you ask them to do, they have to give you the room, the opportunity, indeed, the privilege to influence them. That's how you make an impact. That's how a leader makes an impact on his or her people. Until you gain that access, you can't change anybody. You can't transform anybody. You can't add value to their lives in any meaningful way. All right. It's just impossible. It's just impossible. Now, so when you come together and there is that interaction, the purpose of that interaction is that you leave the follower unchanged. Changed. You bring change to their lives. You help to fill gaps in their lives. It could be in their thinking, it could be, in their behavior, it could be in their beliefs. Indeed, it will be in all of those areas. And so, you know, um, they become somebody else. Some might say a better version of themselves. But I would say that maybe not a better version of themselves, because the spiritual dimension of this is that they also pick what is good from their leader to add to what they have. That's what the leader ensures. That's what the leader ensures. And, you know, like I said, that interaction has to bring about transformation, it has to bring about change. Now, let me use an example here. You know that at Emmet Leadership Academy, we nurture leaders based on truth, and truth is found in the Word of God. When you look at First Samuel 10 and verse 6, something jumps at us from there, and that begins to set the tone for our discussion today. The spiritual dimension of leadership. And there was an encounter between Samuel, who was a prophet in his days, and Saul. And, Samuel pointed out something very important, set Saul's expectation. Saul, by the way, was being prepared, all right, to become king. At that point, he didn't even know. But Samuel, of course, knew, because God has spoken to him. And so Samuel was telling him a number of things that were going to happen to him, some of which were preparing him for the role that he was going to soon, you know, the leadership role he was going to soon take on. And Samuel said to him in that point, he said, when you get to a point, you come in the midst of, some prophets, he said, the Spirit of God will come upon you and you will be turned into another man. All right, the Spirit will come upon you and you will be turned into another man. You won't be the same person. You would experience a transformation. Okay, this was somebody who was being prepared for leadership. So, just as your people under you are being prepared for leadership, all right, because anybody that you're superintending over as a leader, you are expected to prepare them also to take on a leadership role. Okay, that's why such people are referred to as potential successors, and you are supposed to prepare them as successors. Now, if you go by that insight, um, it tells you that when you are preparing them for leadership, there's a new spirit that needs to come upon them. There's a new spirit that they need to embrace, all right, that will turn them into another man, that will turn them into the leader that they're expected to become, that will give them, the capacity to be able to embrace that role and to do it well. So that sets, you know, the tone for our discussion. You begin to see from there that leadership is indeed, involves spiritual transfer. Let me make reference at this point also to something that God did to Moses. We were told that Moses was doing everything by himself. Moses was the leader of leaders in quotes, and he had nobody who was assisting him. He wasn't even preparing anybody to help him, let alone to succeed him. And he was, I believe, blessed enough to have come in contact with Jethro, a man who understood leadership. And Jethro counseled him and said, "Look, you need people to assist you. The way you are overburdening yourself, and if you are not careful, you you may think that yes, you are doing a great job, you have this responsibility to lead, but you may end up um, killing yourself, and that will not do your people good. It will also, you know, that will be contrary to the intention of the one who sent you on this uh, errand. Okay, so he said what you should do: select 70 of your elders, and delegate. Delegate. You can't be the only leader superintending over 3 million people. I mean, there is no way to be effective that way. So he did agree. And what then happened was that we were told in Numbers 11:25 that God then took out of the spirit of Moses and put it on each of those 70 leaders. He, he took the spirit of Moses and put it on each of those 70 leaders. What was he doing? He was replicating the capacity and capabilities, the leadership capability, because that was done purposely to empower the 70 elders to play the kind of role that Moses was playing at different levels. Okay, so that empowerment, that transfer was specifically for the purpose of doing leadership. And that tells us how important the transfer of spirit is. That was, what you might call a naked, transfer of spirit. But let's get the message. The message is that the spirit of the leader was required to be upon the followers in order for them to be able to do what the leader was doing. All right. Otherwise, why would you not just appoint 70 elders and just speak to them, tell them what you want them to do, and they can go ahead to do it? But it doesn't work that way. It won't work that way. That's why God had to take off the spirit, of Moses and to put it on each of the 70 elders. It's profound. And that should settle this case actually, that leadership is spiritual. All right. There is a spiritual transfer between you and the leader. You may not know it, you may not acknowledge it, but it remains true. And the earlier you understand it, the better for you, both in your role as a leader and in your role as a follower. Because when you understand it as a leader, you can be more effective in your leadership role. When you understand it as a follower, you can also take fuller advantage of your relationship with your leader. So your eyes are not just on, activity. Your eyes are on, operate at a deeper level, and you know what it is that you are looking for. Let's use another example. Elisha was a man who was following Elijah. Elijah was his leader. Okay. And something happened before the leader disappeared from the scene. And the leader said to him, "What do you want me to do for you?" Elijah was such a smart person. Elisha was a smart guy who understood that the relationship with his leader was not just, natural, that there was a spiritual dimension to it, that this was a relationship that involved interaction of spirits and a transfer. Okay, so Elisha said to Elijah, his leader, he said, "You know what I want? I want a double portion of your spirit." I want a double portion of your spirit. Smart guy, smart guy. And the leader told him, "Wow," said, "You have asking for a difficult thing. You asked for a very difficult thing, but it's not impossible." Difficult, yes, but it's not impossible. He said, "Okay, this is how you're going to get it. If you see me when I'm taking up, then you have it." And so Elisha had his eyes fixed on his master. Attention. He wouldn't allow anything to distract him from following his master. And so at a point, it happened. Okay. And his master was taken away. And of course, he was attentive enough, he was sensitive enough to know the time, to pick the signal, and he shouted, okay, um, um, you know, uh, my master, my father, and all of that. And we were told there was a transfer of spirit. Elijah turned back and he began to do things like his leader. All right. And some people, those who saw him on his way back, acknowledged that there was something operating in him. They said the spirit of Elijah, he's resting on Elisha. That's what happens. That's what happens when the elders saw Jesus. Saw the disciples of Jesus in Acts chapter 4, verse 12. They said they looked at them. They knew that they were ignorant men. These were illiterate men. But there was something different about them. They said, oh, they had been with Jesus. So what they were seeing in them was a different spirit. The spirit of their master, the spirit of their leader was operating in them. There had been a transfer. There had been a transfer. In fact, it reminds me of John 20 and verse 21, where, when Jesus appeared after he resurrected, he met the team and he told them, well, as the Father has sent me, so send I you. That is, I'm also sending you out now to go and do what I was asked to come and do. Okay, so you guys go ahead and develop people as well and keep spreading the news. Go ahead and operate as bona fide leaders in your own right. And after he said that, we were told in verse 22 that he breathed upon them. What did he say? He said, receive ye the Holy Spirit. Receive ye the Holy Spirit. So what was that? A transfer of spirit. A transfer of spirits. Now, in case you think that some of those are pretty dramatic, okay, maybe they don't happen now. And I hate to disappoint you that they still happen and they still work in that manner, because there is what you call impartation. All that the transfer of spirit is impartation, is an impartation, and it happens, in different ways. It happens in different ways. Okay, so that's what it entails. Let me narrow down a bit so you have an understanding of how this actually takes place, in this day and age. Now, one of the things I want to draw your attention to is the most important instrument of a leader, the most important instrument of a leader. And that those are the words of the leader. A leader can't be as effective, you can be more effective as a leader than the intentional use of your words. Okay, than the intentional use of your words. You can't be more effective. Where the word of a king is, there is power. The leader operates by his words more than anything. Examples are great. I've spoken about that, but over reliance on examples without teaching is dangerous. Okay, will produce contrary results. Nothing can be more important than the words of the leader. Nothing is more important than words. The Bible tells us, he said, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The beginning is the foundation for everything. And he goes ahead to say, he said, without him, talking about the Word, was not anything made that was made. He said, without the Word, nothing exists. Without the Word, nothing exists. In Psalm 107, verse 20, he says, he sent his word and healed them and delivered them from their destruction. How did he accomplish those things? He sent his word. He spoke words. So words are very powerful. In Isaiah 55, 10, 11, you find there, it says, so shall my word be that goes forth out of my mouth. He said, it shall not return to me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please. It shall prosper in the thing to which I sent it. Words. So when a leader understands the power, the significance of his or her words, the power of his or her words, the leader is ready for success. The leader knows, has laid hold on the key of success, vital key to succeed in that role. Okay, so words are so important. But guess what? In John chapter 6 and verse 63, it says, it is the spirit that gives life, or the spirit that quickens. Okay, the flesh has nothing to offer. The words that I speak, they are spirit and life. I paraphrase it. They are spirit and they give life. The words that I speak, they are spirit. You can't hold the words tangibly. They are spirit. The act of speaking is spiritual, whether you like it or not. Otherwise, speak a word and hold it and hand it to me. Let's see whether that's possible. So those words are not ordinary words. That's why it says, say not to an angel, it is an error. No, they don't understand that. They listen to your words and they do something about it. All right? Whether you speak the right words or the wrong words, the words are containers and they tend to bring to pass what they contain, especially when you operate by faith. Okay? Say, and you shall decree a thing and it shall come, and it shall be established unto you. Words are powerful. The instrument for doing leadership. Okay? The instrument for getting leadership right. And the words are the instrument for effecting that transformation, for delivering that value that a leader has to offer his or her people. Primarily, your words. Primarily, your words. It says, by your words, you will be justified. By your words, you will be condemned. So the outcome of every of your efforts is traceable to the words that you speak. And leadership is not exempted from that principle. It aligns very well with that with the principle. Okay, what do we mean by these words are spirit, these words are life? That's why, if you go back to that statement, that the words I speak, all right, they won't return to me void. That is, they will not return to me without accomplishing their content. Okay, they won't. That means they have the power. That means they contain something. That means there is something that makes them to fulfill, all right, in line with what they contain. Let me show you what the key is. The key is that when you look at Ezekiel chapter 2, and Ezekiel chapter 2 tells us something very important. It says, and the Spirit entered into me when he spoke to me and set me upon my feet. Very profound statement. What happened? He spoke to you. So words, you had words, and following your hearing of the words, his spirit entered into you. But the spirit didn't leave you neutral. The spirit did something to you. He said, and he set me upon my feet. Words, the vehicle for transferring the spirit. that has an influence on you. That's how you and I are transformed. That's how you and I change. You are who you are today, essentially, largely, predominantly by the accumulation of the words that you have been hearing. You are who you are. And guess what? Those words have transferred a spirit into you that has shaped who you are. Who you are is not the facade. Who you are is not the body. Who you truly are is your spirit. Is your spirit. Your spirit determines what you do. Your spirit determines what you do. Now, so you see that through the words of a leader, there is a transfer of spirit. Whose spirit? The spirit of the leader. And what does the spirit of the leader contain? The character of the leader. You may be aware of what we refer to as the fruit of the spirit in Galatians 5 and verses 22 to 23. It talks about the fruit of the spirit. What is the fruit of the spirit? It's no big deal. It says it just describes behavioral attributes: love, joy, peace, faith, kindness, humility, self-control. You understand? There are 9 of them, 9 behavioral attributes. That's the fruit of the spirit. That's your real nature. The content of you is how much of each of those attributes you you know you have. That's the fruit of the spirit. Okay. And that fruit, as it were, is in your spirit. That's what determines. Another word for it is your character, your nature. And that nature is shaped by the words that you listen to, which are spiritual in nature. His spirit entered into me when he spoke to me and set me upon my feet. And words are so powerful that they can reach anywhere. In Hebrews 4 and verse 11, it talks about words being a double-edged sword. They reach into your very being. They get to the point where your soul and your spirit is divided. All right? Words can reach anywhere. And they are so potent that you are warned. Guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Why? Because words enter your heart. Words enter your heart. So be careful what you listen to. Be careful what you open your heart to. Because in doing that, you are exposing yourself to the transfer of the spirit of the person who spoke those words. And when that spirit takes root, it begins to shape you. So the more you listen to somebody, the more you open yourself up to be shaped, for your spirit to be shaped by the person's spirit through the transfer of the person's spirit that is contained in the words that the person has spoken. The things you do are determined by your character. Your character is your spirit. The content of your character are the attributes. That's why you do what you do. That's why at times you want to do something else. Like Paul was saying, frustratingly, you can't do something else. Why? Because you haven't been wired. Your spirit is not wired to do what you're trying to do. Until you work on your spirit, you reprogram your spirit through words that are spiritual that carry the right spirit, you will keep doing the same thing. You'll keep doing the same thing. You can fake it once in a while, but you would ultimately return to the same thing. You would ultimately return to the same thing. So, coming back to our issue, the leadership involves a transfer of spirits. The way that the leader influences, affects, adds value to his people, transforms them, is through the words that they speak, which carry their spirit. And as they speak, just like Ezekiel had that encounter, those words are shaping them. There is an interaction between the spirit of the leader and the spirit of the follower. And when a leader is successful in their role, it should be said of those who he or she has supervised that the spirit of the leader is upon them. Okay? There is nothing to be ashamed about. It's just a description of the fact that the leader has been successful in transferring vital attributes, or if you like, in sharing. All right, because transfer doesn't mean the leader doesn't lose his or her spirit. Okay, it doesn't yield his or her spirit. It just means that, I mean, the spirit is such that you can share it to as many people. It's like you taking a candle. Your candle that has light can light a million candles, one, and that candle will not feel it. It won't lose anything. That's the nature of what happens. That's the nature of what happens. Like I said, in fact, you don't have to believe, you don't have to be a Christian. It doesn't matter. It's not the words of Christians alone that are spiritual. All words are spiritual. That's why we are warned. Guard your heart with all diligence. It didn't even say with diligence, with all diligence. For out of it are the issues of life, the experiences you have, the outcomes, the results that you get in life. They are traceable to the state of your heart. Your heart is your spirit. That determines exactly, it determines, what your experience is. So many times when you are concerned about the results you are getting, where to look at is your heart. You can't perform better. You will never get better results in life than the quality of your heart, which means the quality of your spirit. You won't. The scriptures can be broken. Out of your heart are the issues of life, the outcomes of your life, the experiences of your life, the results that you produce. But the key there is what is residing in your heart is your spirit. Is your spirit. And what shapes the spirit? Words. Words. In 2 Peter chapter 1, it tells us God has given us great and precious promises that by them you may partake of what? The divine nature. What is that saying? The words are given, they shape your nature, they determine the nature of your spirit. They build, if they are the right words, they build the fruit of the spirit, the right character in you. If they are the wrong words, they shape your spirit accordingly as well. Remember, every word produces after its content. Every word produces after its content. So be careful what you listen to. That's how, it is. Leadership is a transfer of spirit. Leadership is a spiritual transaction. It's a spiritual transaction. Believe it or not, but you better believe it so that you can take full advantage of it. So that you can take full advantage of it. There are other ways, of course, by which the spirit, your spirit, that impartation, that's what is really called impartation. Okay. There are other ways. This is the most profound, but there are other ways by which the same thing, you know, can happen. So, from a leader's point of view, you know, your words are the most important, but they are not the only way. There are at least five ways by which that can happen. I will speak to that, you know, some other time, so that I don't overload, to this uh, message or the focus of our discussion today, and so that you can go away with, this fresh, a new, different perspective, but vital, crucial perspective. You won't hear that typically in a leadership class. All right. But it remains the same. It remains the case. It remains true. And it works. And it works. Clearly, if you bring this fresh understanding to your conduct of leadership, be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for the effect that it delivers on your people. It would reduce your frustrations. It will make you take words more seriously. It will make you focus on the right things. It will make you understand the dynamics of how the leader adds value to people, of how the leader brings about transformation, the right kind of transformation in each of our people. It would also make you understand what not to do so that it doesn't produce the results that you never intended in your people. Okay, so that it doesn't. That's the truth. You can't do anything against the truth. You can only walk, put yourself on the side of truth. Okay, put yourself on the side of truth. What else is there to say? All right, so that's it for today. We've been talking about the spirits that leaders transfer, emphasizing the point about leadership being a spiritual transaction, and trying to explain how, the process works, and that the relationship between you as a leader and your team and your people is spiritual in nature, because there is something that goes on as you interact that you need to be attentive to, and that you need to take control of. All right. And not let things happen and produce unintended results when it is well within, your capacity, to exercise control and to determine what happens. There is, so you take charge of the spiritual dimension of the relationship, and you engage in it to ensure that it produces the right kind, the intended effect on your people. Leadership is too important, okay, is too sacrificial for you to waste all of that effort. But the effort can go to waste if you do not understand the workings, the dynamics, particularly the spiritual undertone, as we've tried to explain. Like I said, it's great if you are a child of God, if you believe in Christ. It's but it works even if you don't believe. The only thing is that in that case, the chances are that it will work in the negative because one, you won't know the right words to speak, you won't speak the right words, and you can't shape the character that is required for doing leadership right. Believe it or not, there is a character that is required, there is a kind of spirit that is required, there is the quality of spirit that is required that will help you to produce, to be a good leader, and therefore to produce good leaders as well. Remember, a good tree can only produce good fruit. A bad tree will produce bad fruits. There is no, you know, way around it. There is no way that a bad tree will produce a good fruit. That's fraud. It's not going to happen. That's not the way that the world has been designed to work. That's not the way God intended for things to work. And there's nothing you do that can thwart the way the system is intended to run. So it's better that you stay on the side of truth, on the side of how things have been designed to work. That way things will work, with a little less effort. And that's what they call smart leadership is, accomplishing great impact with little effort. Smart leadership. For those who may be interested, you can check out the Smart Leader program. I think there's a link somewhere in the description. It's a 30-day program, and you take it at your own convenience. You get a video, lesson every day. The video is between 30 and 45 minutes, and that will go on for 30 days. And every day, at the end of each video, you have, an assignment, and that assignment seeks to achieve two things. One is to test your understanding of what you have listened to, all right, and to challenge you, of course, to make sure that you understand what you're listening to. And the second is to force you to apply the things that you have learned to yourself. That's the way you truly learn, to begin to internalize those lessons. You can't do that for 30 days and remain the same. Your capacity to lead will hit the roof. I guarantee you that. 30 days, a video every day, spend 30 days committed. We have to stop looking for leaders to appear from nowhere. We must be the leaders. Develop yourself so that you are part of the solution to the scarcity of credible leaders, of authentic leaders. Everybody is looking for somebody to appear from somewhere. We're clapping, we're celebrating people many times that we don't know, that we can't vouch for. We're looking at their faces, thinking they're great. But when you understand who a true leader is, you won't even touch some of the people that you have been looking to. You won't touch them if you truly understand what leadership is about. Okay, so it isn't so much about the technical skills. No, leadership goes well beyond that, well beyond that. And it's too important because, like I say to people, the lives of people are involved. It's not the people are not working for you as a leader. People are helping you to better their own lives. All right. Leadership is about lives. It's not about profit. It's primarily about lives, is shaping lives so that those lives can be more useful to society, can contribute more to society. All those other things, profit and all that, will happen. But if you overlook the people and we focus on those profits, we will keep having the kinds of problems that we're grappling with today. All right, so you would find it's called the Smart Leader Program. If you are interested, the link is in the description. check it out. You can start the program today. In 30 days, you are done. And one of the interesting aspects of the program is that you're expected to submit your assignment. All right. And that means you'll be sending the assignment to me, and I'm going to reply you by video. All right. I will record for each video, I mean, each assignment, I will record a private video commenting on, your assignment and giving you feedback, and providing any other guidance I believe will be important. That's like having a personal coach he walk you through over a 30-day period. People pay a lot for that, but the program is relatively for a token, but I recommend that for you. And also, let me recommend for those who are interested to join the Authentic Leadership Academy. It's a community of leaders that have just kicked off, and the idea is for people who really have value for leadership and who want to be the example of the kind of leader that our community needs. Uh, that's where they gather, and so I serve as like an anchor, the convener. But there will be different activities. There will be weekly activities, including a live business session. I did one yesterday. I started a series on the divine blueprint, on leadership. The divine blueprint on leadership is a 4-part series. Part one was yesterday. Every week, I'll be speaking further to that subject. So that's the kind of thing we have. And the more of us that are able to gather together, the more iron is able to sharpen iron. And we can begin to develop, a new set of leaders that are authentic, that are reliable, that understand what leadership truly is about, and that are, committed to doing it the way it should be done, according to the truth. Remember, at Emet Leadership Academy, our commitment is to nurturing leaders based on truth. All right, so it's been Leadership in 30 Minutes today. Join me on Monday for Leadership Monday. Few minutes, take a nugget that will help you to do leadership right, for the week. That's what we do on Mondays. And on Thursdays, we spend more time drilling down into more substantive issues, all to further build our capacity, in these areas. And for those who are members of the Authentic Leadership Academy, they have the opportunity of joining me on Wednesday for the live business session, which is a different ballgame entirely. One of the highlights of that session is that we actually, we read certain scriptures. Here I basically just make reference to the scriptures, but there we read the scriptures, and the discussions are a bit more detailed, but they are focused on leadership based on the truth. It's been my pleasure, coming to you once again today. Um, uh, and so I want to thank, by the way, everyone that has commented. Thank you for joining me this morning. Thank you for listening. If you have not subscribed to the channel, maybe you are watching on YouTube or on Facebook, please go ahead and subscribe so that you can get notified. And please, if it's been a blessing to you, if you have gained something, if this has been helpful, if it has been worth your time, please share the link, let others join. The more, the merrier. Like I said, you take a candle, it can light 1,000,000 candles without losing anything. That's what you'll be doing. There is space, more than enough space for all of us to be relevant, especially in the area of leadership. The world needs credible, dependable leaders, and they're in short supply. Our commitment is to help to fill that gap. Um, all right, so let me stop there. In case some people may be wondering, what does Greater Than Solomon mean? That logo there is a program that is one of the programs, one of the executive coaching programs that I have. It's called the Greater Than Solomon program. And that should tell you something. You know, Jesus said to him, he said, a greater than Solomon is here. So, what is the content of that greater than Solomon? How do you operate leadership at that level, the greater than Solomon level? That's what that program is about. That's a one-on-one private, coaching program. Anyone who is interested, send me an email. You would find my email in the description, and we can talk about it if you are interested. Once again, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for participating. Thank you for all of the contributions. I love to have feedback. And like I always say, if you have any aspect of leadership you want me to speak to, maybe you even read my article or my post, somewhere, and you want me to speak further on it, or you just want to ask a question, just put it in the chat and I would see it, or in the comments, I will see it. And then uh, um, in the next broadcast or directly, I will speak to it in the broadcast and I'll try and provide a reply in the comment. All right. The broadcast enables more people to hear, um, and to benefit from whatever you say. And um, the comment, you can at least get a direct and immediate response as well. So, see you again. Thank you very much for joining today. God bless you for all your comments, for all your feedback. It's been my pleasure. Once again, my name remains Olatunji Shobodu, Emmet Leadership Academy. And it's been, a discussion has been leadership, a spiritual transaction. Leadership, a spiritual transaction. Bye bye.